when we're looking for and with first-time home buyers, we really try to nitpick a good deal,
Right.
because I've seen so many people get that first one right, roll it into their next one, roll it into their next one, and then, they've got that money and that equity that then builds that wealth.
If you're thinking about buying a property in Williamson County or Nashville or East Tennessee, you've come to the right spot. You're going to want to watch this show. I've got Alec Leaman with Brandon Hanna Properties today on the show, and he has been amazing in the market. He has been crushing it, and I want to introduce him. When he was 10 years old, he instantly fell in love with the community of Nashville and Brentwood. He went to Brentwood High, Brentwood Middle, and he always loved soccer. He went to MTSU mostly because it was close to home. He graduated in 4 years with a bachelor's in finance, married in year 2 with your middle school sweetheart. And they actually just celebrated their 10-year anniversary on October the 12th. They've got 3 kids, 5, 3, and 2. And his family is his why and what he does. And after he graduated, Brandon Hanna reached out to him to help him grow his real estate business, and the rest is history. So we're going to talk about that today. Man, Alec, good to see you.
Nice to meet you. Nice to see you. Nice to see you again.
So we've got a couple of overlaps. So your brother-in-law is on my team. So we've got a couple of things going on there, and we've got your lovely sister here that's back here doing some social media marketing for you. So tell us kind of how you got started and how you got to the position where you're at now.
First off, I want to say Austin loves working for you.
Thank you.
That's my brother-in-law. When he first started talking about, making the transition over to, working and helping you out with your business, he was like, man, this guy's so cool. He's on it. He's always on to the next thing. And so, he's super excited, and honestly, he loves his job, and he didn't pay me to say that either. I promise.
Time flies. It's been 2 years plus
it's
now.
It's crazy.
Wow.
It is crazy. And he's like, oh yeah, Mark's doing this new thing. And so I need to stay in better touch with you, and just to make sure, because I know you're always, you're in on the social media, you're in on the marketing, and we talked about AI the other day too, and kind of how you're implementing that into your business. And so, all that to say, thanks for having me. 1, 2, thanks for taking care of my brother-in-law. Obviously,
you got a great family.
We do. And so, thanks for introducing us. And yeah, we've been, like I said, I've been here for 20 years now, and we moved here when my parents moved us here when I was 10. Brother was 8.
Where'd you guys move from?
Ohio, just north of Columbus. So big Ohio State fans, and kind of through and through. And never really, unfortunately, adopted the Tennessee volunteer life. I've got another brother-in-law actually that is a diehard volunteer fan. We'll root for him every once in a while, but we're Buckeye fans through and through. And so we moved here, and honestly, we fell in love with it, and my family just fell in love with it. This town was a lot more expensive than where we were back in Ohio. And so we always were the family that were buying the nasty house, the ones with the mold halfway up the wall and, roof caving in and all of that stuff. That was us. We were buying those houses, and that's how we were able to afford to be in the Williamson County area. Okay. We would all, as a family, go in, fix it up, work on it, renovate it, and then we'd turn it into the next deal. And so my parents always kind of had that mindset of real estate is extremely important. And that's how they were able to afford here. And then not only to afford here, but also to thrive here as well after, being here for so many years. And so, I went to Brentwood Middle, went to Brentwood High, played soccer all throughout, and, met my wife shortly after that. And so we were always kind of friends growing up, and then it got more serious kind of late high school. And then, I'd thought about going off to college and playing soccer, but I think at that point, after probably 10 or 12 years of just travel and every season, every, day practicing in games and all that, I think I was done, and I was in love too. And so she kind of, I didn't really want to go too far. And we had kind of known at that point we wanted to get married. And so we got married young, it was a week or two before I turned 20. So we were 19 years old technically when we got married. And I can tell you, just a quick plug to her, it's better now than it was then. I mean, every year it continues to get better. And so 3 little kids later, here we are. After college, I went to college. I like I said, I always had that mindset of real estate. I always liked it. I always enjoyed it. I liked the, just hearing my parents, say, in the background, or I'd pick up, or I'd be eavesdropping on their conversations, we bought our house for 3 something and we fixed it up. And, after 2 or 3 years, it was worth 6 something. And, that kind of stuck with me. And so I took a couple college courses to kind of get my minor in real estate. And that's when I really started to understand it's not just buying and selling homes. There's a lot to do with real estate. And so that's where I really started to pick up a little bit of interest, but I never really thought that I would run with it. I worked at J. Alexander's here in Cool Springs for 7 years, all through college. That's how I was able.
It's a great staple. I've had many a business lunch there.
I was there last night.
Yeah, right.
I was there last night with a group of friends.
I don't know if that place will ever close.
No, it doesn't. It's super consistent, and honestly, it got me through. Yeah,
J. Alexander's.
You're welcome. It got me through college. I was a server there, and it got me through, my back half of high school, got me through college. We were actually on that income. We were able to purchase our first condo here in Franklin, right around the corner. So just a couple months after we got married, we purchased that, and for $144,000. And it was in pretty good shape. And so we thought we were overpaying at that moment in time. Right. And now, looking back, it was one of the best investments that we've made. And and I'll go back to that later, but I tell a lot of my first time home buyers, we've got to get your first one right. And so when we're looking for and with first time home buyers, we really try to nitpick a good deal, right? Because I've seen so many people get that first one right, roll it into their next one, and then, they've got that money and that equity that then builds that wealth. And so we can get into more detail about all that stuff later, but back to my history. I was going to go into sales, but Brandon Hanna called me up and he said, hey, he sent me a big long text. It was a whole job description of this is what I need. This is what you're going to be doing on a day-to-day basis. This is what you're going to get paid. What do you think? And luckily, my mom actually worked part-time for him for a couple of years, and she was like, that man. So
what year was this?
This was
roughly how many years ago?
This was about 7 or 8 years ago now. So this was, and I was going to go and I was going to make a lot more money somewhere else. I had another job offer from one of my regulars at Jay's actually. But he was, and I talked to my parents and she was like, you'll never work for a greater human being and a smarter human being than that man. And so I said, all right, sounds good. I'm going to roll with that. And so we roll with it. And the rest is history. He's, so I worked under him for about 5 years. He had passed away then about 2.5 years ago now. And so that's another story we can get into, but his passing, obviously he was the closest person I think that's ever passed away in my life. I've never had a sibling or a parent or a grandparent or anything like that pass away yet. And so he was my best friend. He was my mentor. He was, hang out with him every day. We travel together, do everything together. And so that hurt and it still hurts. But getting to learn, you kind of step back and you look at it and, everything kind of happened for a reason. The way he trained, the way he included me on a lot of his phone calls, a lot of, really important meetings to do with the business, to do with specific clients. He included me on a lot more than what I thought I was going to be included on. And then he passed and I truly felt like, I can do this. I can do this. And so,
well, you have.
Well, thank God I have. So, we've had a really good support system. His wife has been incredibly supportive. She's the owner of the company still, and so she's been incredibly supportive of giving us what we've needed, set us up for success, and kind of cut us loose and let us do our thing. So,
I mean, and for those of you guys that don't know. The Brandon Hanna team has always been a top team. And so when Brandon passed, I think the logical thing that anyone out there in the community, whether they know you or they don't know you, is kind of like, well, what's going to happen? Mm-hmm. And so here we are 2.5 years later, 3 years later. And I mean, you guys, and really, you are really the face of the team now. And it's a small team. And to your credit, man, you have this is a slow market and you guys are up there in the top, I want to say 3 to 5 in buyer sides, which is huge. So if you're out there, you're thinking, man, who do I want to represent me as a buyer out there? I mean, it really, you're talking to, I know he looks young, but this is like one of the top 5 guys in a city of like, a couple million people. So it's a big deal. And it's a big deal, brother, to keep something like that going when, you could have just folded up and gone. So you guys talk about that. Like you guys, you do some great marketing, but you really stay in touch. You're really out there in the community,
right.
to picking up deals and helping people, get from point A to point B.
That's right. And a lot of our marketing and to touch on the youth side of things, Brandon and I had talked to him a lot about that, and certain verbiage you can use. And I don't dye my hair gray to stay to look older. This is real gray. But
real estate will do that, or this market will do that, and maybe add a couple to
a little Nashville,
or make it go away like me.
One of the two. But yeah. So that was a big objection that I had to get over. And Brandon had a big client base. I had a smaller client base, and a lot of his clients were really loyal to him, and they've been really loyal to me. And so that's been huge. That's been, why we've been able to not only maintain, but thrive. And so I think going forward, what we've been able to do is, we really focus on, and it's kind of cliche, and every real estate agent is probably going to say this, but we really focus on you, the buyer. When I first show a house, we had new clients come in from, they're from LA. They came in last weekend, last Friday. And I think the first 2 houses that we saw, we barely talked about the house at all. We walk through, we get to know each other. What do you do? How many kids you have? We build this before we build anything else. And so I think that's what's become most important for us, is I do feel like people build, we focus on building trust and building friendship before they even become a client. That person could probably turn around and be like, did we even look at houses? We saw 4 or 5 houses, and there was 1 or 2 that they really, really liked, but it didn't take me walking them through and saying, did you really like this house? What did you really like about this house? Look at the hardwoods, look at this, look at the ceiling. Look at it was a more of a tour of getting to know each other. Yeah. And through that, we use the house as, a spot to do that. And so, and then once they walk through the house, it was that instant feeling of, yep, I think this is it. I think this is the one. And then at that point, they find that one, and then, they're not going to anybody else because now they have a best friend in you. Right. So I think that's the biggest thing that we focused on, and is building the friendship and the relationship first. And then through that, then they want their parent to meet their new friend, and they want their friend that's moving here to meet their new friend. And then, and so you build this giant web of referrals and business, and that's how we've been able to stay afloat. And it's the loyalty of our past clients, and then it's also this all these new clients that are coming from out of town and bringing all their friends and family, and just becoming that resource, because they don't know a lender, they don't know a contractor, they don't know a lawn care guy or a window cleaner or any of that, so they really lean on us heavily for that type of thing. And so again, I don't want to just be the guy that helps them buy their house. I want to be the guy that they invite to their New Year's party, and I want to be the guy that they call when they've got they want to redo their hardwood floors. I want to be that guy that they call, that they really lean on. Mm-hmm. So that's kind of our technique and our secret.
You said something interesting. I think, when you're showing someone a house and they think, hey, you get this sense, and how satisfying is it that this is the one? Mm-hmm. So, but also, how much pressure is it? What's the pressure like at that point to try to deliver on that? And does that differ if it's like a repeat buyer and they don't hang on to it as much, or is it the same for a first time buyer?
Yeah, I think it's I think it's person specific. I really do think that. And like I said, that goes to really getting to know them first before you walk into these homes, because you can really get to, you can kind of get to see what they're like and how they're going to handle the whole situation. And so, for a first time home buyer, it can be emotional. It can be overwhelming. And so, you walk into a house, and a lot of times it's the first house that they send you, and they're like, hey, I really want to see this house, or you send them, hey, I really want to see this house. That's the one that they're like, this is the one I chose, this is the one I want to walk through, this is the one I want to buy. And so just talking them through the whole process of, hey, this is a great home. Here's what's great about it. One of the biggest things we look at is resale value. We really, really focus on that more than pretty much anything else. I'll tell you, and Brandon used to say this all the time, and I've tried my best to stick with it. And I feel like I've done a pretty good job of, we actually talk a lot of people out of homes because of that sense. And back to what I was saying earlier of getting the first one right and making sure that first one is got basically more resale value and has that aspect of the home more than anything else, because it is exactly that. It's a first home. So if you can get that first one right, you step back and you're like, holy cow, this gained this much equity. And when you go to sell this home, it's going to fly off the market because you have all the things that we talked about on the front end, as opposed to, that house is really cute, but got railroads in the background. It's on a crazy slope lot, some things, it's not in the best school district, something along those lines. So we really, really try to make it to where they really understand that this isn't just a home for you, but it's also an investment for you to take this on and to help your family in the future and to help you in the future and all of that. And so I think that's more of the pressure of the first time home buyers. Repeat business, that's more of okay, what are we trying to accomplish here? Do you need more space? Do you need less space?
The goals are a little different.
Goals are a little bit different. And so again, it goes into that relationship of knowing exactly what they want. And then, it depends on how seasoned they are too. Sometimes they a buyer knows what they're looking for and they're like, I want this neighborhood, I want this size. And that really narrows it down. And so, then it's up to us to take that information and to say, hey, there's nothing in this neighborhood for sale. Let's try this one that's very similar. And then obviously use our technology and our wherewithal and our knowledge of the market to be able to help them as well as we.
So you mentioned emotions. It gets emotional. How do you help manage your client's stress and anxiety when they're dealing with this? Because it's perhaps one of the most emotional outside of like an illness or something like that, but like it's the biggest purchase and they may not make another one for many, many years. Yeah. So how do you help manage that? I mean, because this is something that's really part of your craft.
That's right.
I mean,
the biggest thing that I think that I do is I try to, that is my goal, right? Is to take the emotion out of it. And I think a lot of agents would say that. And so what I try to do is I try to always give them the big picture. We went, for an example, we walked through a home. We had probably seen 15 to 20 homes with these clients. Super analytical. Wife was very like, I love everything. Everything is amazing. I just want a new home. Let's get a new home. Husband, very analytical and very to the point. And so trying to mesh with those two emotions and, find them something really great. They walked into this home and they both said, this is the one. After 15 of 20 homes that we didn't like, they walked into this home and they said, this is the one. And so it's the first time that I had seen that they come together on a decision. So we offer on the home, we get the home. It's actually a multiple offer situation that we ended up winning. And that was recently, which is crazy because there's not a lot of multiple offer situations anymore. But we get the home. We go through the inspection and there's probably 25, 30 things that need to be addressed. Okay. It's a early 2000s or late 90s home. And, there's 20, 30 things. A lot of things that I would say aren't a big deal at all. To him and her, they were massive deals. And again, I knew that because I knew how his mind worked because I had got to know him over those 15 or 20 showings. And so I really understood the client. I knew that this was going to be something that we were going to really have to work towards. He got that list and all of a sudden he didn't want to, he was like, this is overwhelming. I'm not buying this house. And so what we did is we were able to talk him through it and say, listen, you guys have walked through this many homes. I said, you guys like this home because they love the lot. They love the size of the home. They love the curb appeal of the home. They love the location of the home, the school district of the home. They loved all the intangibles they loved. We just had to get through some of these repairs and make it as basically get through it and be as calm as possible and walk him through this entire thing. And so what I do to manage his emotions were, listen, I said, let's go back to the home. Let's look at each one of these repairs individually, and then we'll walk the home. So what he did is he came in that front door again, and I could just see his eyes light up again. And he had that feeling.
Yeah.
I said, I was like, you still love this home, don't you? He goes, I love this home. And I said, then let's get through this inspection. So we walked through, we looked at every single repair. This is important. This is not important. Let's get the contractors involved. Let's make him feel as warm and fuzzy we can about this inspection. Because what I did is I was able to zoom out
Yeah.
and say, you loved all the things that you can't change about this property, the location, the yard, the curb appeal, all that stuff. You can change curb appeal a little bit, but you loved everything you can't change. We can change all of this other stuff. So let's change it and let's get you into a home that you love. They closed on it the other day, got all the repairs made, some of the repairs made, some of the repairs we're going to take care of. And I mean, he sent me this message the other day and wrote us an incredible review that was, you would have thought that there was not an issue throughout the entire thing. But I mean, there was probably 10 straight days of us walking through it. So again, I think it goes to knowing your client and really get to know them and find that common ground of just what they're looking for, and not only what they're looking for, but how they are as a person. Whether it's good or bad, it doesn't matter. It's just who you are. So it's up to me to take the emotion out of it and to get them into something that we know they're going to love and that they know that they're going to love. And so, but the process is difficult. So I think just being there for them is the biggest thing that we try to be, in be a reliable source and somebody that they trust. And if they trust you, a lot of times, they'll do what you say. And so as long as you are a moral and ethical person,
right.
They'll go along with you. So, and we've talked people out of, after an inspection too, we've, say, hey, you need to focus a little bit more on this item and make sure that this is taken care of. Again, we take it for family specific, house specific, contract specific. It's the game of real estate. I'm sure no deal is the same,
That's
especially
right.
especially in your life too. Yeah.
And we have our own challenges right now with interest rates, right? And what are you seeing? What are the hurdles? What are the challenges that you're seeing, with clients, and how are you kind of working through those? As we sit here today in almost November, we're October 2023.
Yeah. You're right. The biggest thing right now is interest rates. I mean, that's what everybody wants to talk about. That's what's getting shoved down your throat every day. Every time you pull up the news, it's interest rates, interest rates, interest rates. So, just being able to navigate that and that fear of, oh my goodness, this payment, even though they can very well afford it. It's just talking them through the processes. I've watched a lot of your videos, and I use actually a lot of your videos. So thank you, to kind of talk them through the interest rates and what all that looks like from the lending side. And then from my side as well is, let's get you into a home. We know you want to move, right? And that's what a decision that they have made. Let's get you into a home that you love, and then we'll adapt from there and see. And so the biggest thing for me is on the real estate side, because like I said, we always want to make sure that we're getting the best possible deal for somebody, because it's going to set them up in the future. And I want them to come back and say, holy cow, you told us to buy this house and this house was perfect. And we had a great experience, and now it's worth $200,000 more. I'm going to take that $200,000 and we're going to go and we're going to buy an investment property or something with it. And so again, that's that trust that we're trying to build with people in that repeat business. But, we first focus on, okay, you've decided that you want to move and here's why, or you need to move and here's why. And then we talk through the interest rates. Okay, here's what you can afford. But then we go a little bit deeper into, if you can afford this amount, if rates ever do come down, which everybody is saying that they're going to come down at some point, right? They will be down. Right. Just like, a decade ago, you can kind of correct me on the timeline of all of this, but basically from when I think they were at 8% in like 2018, 19, 20, somewhere in there.
Maybe not then, but they were back in the middle 2000s.
Mid 2000s, they were in there.
Got up to 7.
But okay, but like the 5s and 6s, that was more common, and then you saw people, they hit 4, refinance. Right. Save a couple $100, refinance again. Now they're down at 3.5. Okay, let's refinance again. And then it's like, now I'm at a 2.875. I'm sure you're even better than that. So I mean, it's so I think people are on the outside looking in thinking, we missed our chance to get a low interest rate. And it's like, you know what? No, you've never had the opportunity that you have today to negotiate price down, to negotiate interest rate down, buy downs down, closing costs down. You have that opportunity now. And we've had incredible luck with that. And it's explaining to these clients, yes, you have this interest rate, but we just got this much off the price. Say we got $80,000 off the price plus another $20,000 in closing costs and buy downs. Even if you had this house, maybe you're paying only a couple $100 more, right? Because we got the price down so much. And so we've never had the chance to do that since I've been working. I've been in the market for 8 years, and so this is the first time that we're really seeing like a a struggle, I guess you could say, or maybe there's a vast difference in the real estate market, and being able to navigate that and kind of, I think it comes down to education. I really do. And that's why I love your videos, and because, you spit them out to all of your followers, and, you get this incredible dialogue, and some of the comments, if you go in your comment sections and look at this stuff, it's like, wait, somebody else can, get my interest rate lower. And it's like, these people have no idea.
Yeah.
And I don't blame them for not having an idea. They were never taught. And so it's up to you, it's up to me, it's up to people in our industry to educate. Again, I'm never going to be an advocate for over leveraging yourself, or buying something you can't afford, or getting into a house off of pure emotion. We're going to walk you through that entire process. But if you have made a decision, or if there's a good deal that's come up and you show interest in it, or if you've made a decision, hey, we do want to move, or we do need to move, let's find you something that checks most to all of your boxes, and let's go in there and let's try to get this thing as low as we possibly can, with as many closing costs as possible, to where you're coming up with your down payment, and your down payment only. They're buying down your rate a little bit. They're doing all of these things that can help a buyer feel really, really good going into it. And I would say too, what do you think is going to happen when they go down to 6?
Yeah.
What do you think is going to happen when they go down to 4? You think you're going to be able to get this house for this price then? Because the answer is no.
Right.
Lower interest rate, higher demand, lower supply, which means higher price. So, it's education, and making sure that, they feel warm and fuzzy going into their search, and they go, warm and fuzzy going into their house with their new payment. So
I agree. And I think it's so important. You mentioned about concessions, maybe a price cut with concessions, but maybe if you can only get one or the two. Oftentimes, I do think it's important for people to understand that, say you have an $800,000 home, and maybe it's competitive a little bit, and rather than getting a price reduction of, say, $15,000, perhaps use that $15,000, which is roughly a little 2%, or and use that to buy the rate down. So, and that oftentimes is going to be a better. It's going to be a better situation. It's going to be a more impact for the buyer, rather than, because if you take $15,000 off the price, it's maybe $75, $80 off of your payment, and it's not that huge. But if you get if you get a concession and you're buying the rate down, and all of a sudden now maybe your payment is $500 less, well, that's much more of an impact for your family.
It's HOA, that's utilities, that's everything. Yeah.
And so I think oftentimes there's just not, if their lender is not explaining that. I mean, I think Austin and I, we do a great job of trying to explain, like, you have a couple of options. What you need to do is, when you go back to the agent, make sure that you, if you can, try to get some concessions. And here's the reason why. You want to be more, because I think people are preconditioned to sort of like think, I want to get a deal. Take it depending on the market. Real estate's hyper local, and it depends on which market you're in. But I think everywhere, in most markets, we're seeing some softening. That doesn't mean values are going down of homes. It just means that where someone lists and where they sell is perhaps coming down a little bit. But if you can get a home and get a concession and use that to buy your rate down, and have the seller do that, it's just going to provide a much bigger impact. And so it's either, if they don't get that one, then maybe the next one, they're able to just sort of buy more home that way. So I think we try to set them up for success, saying, look, rates, whatever they are right now, whether they're 7, whether they're 7.5 or 8 or whatever, if you can get a buy down to where you're now in the 6s and have the seller pay that, now all of a sudden you're set up for a little bit more success moving forward, and you don't feel as crunched with your payment.
Yeah, that's right. And it's wild, because I mean, we're talking mostly buyer side, obviously lender, and I have a lot of buyers also, but on the seller side, a tip for sellers is, instead of, say you're listing your home for $700,000, and okay, hey, it's been 14, 17, 30 days, and we're not getting the traffic we want. Instead of lowering the price, like, hey, we want to lower the price $10,000. A lot of times what I'm doing is I'm doing a smaller price reduction with a bigger rate buy down. And maybe you mentioned that, but basically as a seller, you can offer that on the front end and put it in big bold letters.
In the MLS.
Seller, in the MLS, seller offering blank, $15,000 towards a buy down, $30,000 on a rate buy down. And what that does is, a smaller price drop with that, what it does is it kind of gets people thinking, what do they mean by this? And then they go and look it up, and then they call their lender and they say, he's offering $30,000 of a rate buy down. What does that mean? Explain that to me a little bit. Yeah. Again, it's education. And so they're learning and they're becoming more educated buyers going into a deal. And what we're seeing on our listings is that they're starting to move also because of, we're doing some of those things and we're implementing some of those. And again, it's all buyer specific, market specific. But again, right now, especially any way that we can get, a leg up on the competition, gain market. I mean, this is never a better time than to gain market share, buyers, sellers, borrowers, than now, because obviously, the market's down a little bit. You'll see some agents and I'm sure you've seen, brokerages, loan brokerages, close their doors and you know what? Hey, we're done. So
yeah, I think half of the industry is down to half. 160,000 loan officers during COVID times, and I think there are 80,000 now.
Seriously,
yeah,
that is wild. I got to go look at the real estate numbers on that. I don't know if it's that high. That's crazy.
But yeah, and for sure there are people going back to bartending that were just kind of order taking during the times. But you guys have not done that. How are you staying top of game right now in this market?
So we've had to adapt.
And then how do you balance it with work life too? I want to know about that.
Okay, so
we're not just working all the time.
That's right. So first part of your question, how are we managing? We've really had to we've had to adapt, and we've had to and I think if you're not adapting, I think you're going to end up being one of the 80,000 that loses a license or retires a license or something like that. I think you've got to find different ways to get yourself in front of people, whether that's networking, whether that's social media, whatever that is. I think you've got to find different ways. And then also going into your sphere and coming up with different investment, because we've got all of our investors are in, this sphere, and then you got your home buyers and you got your sellers, and we've got them all kind of interlocked or whatever. But what we've been doing is we've been going to a lot of our investors and we've been saying, hey, listen, we're having success getting these houses down. This one's been on the market for 90 days. What do you think? Here's kind of the exit strategy. Here's a different way you can rent it out. I mean, short-term rental, mid-term rental. You've got like some of these, let me think. There's obviously long-term rental. Also, there's flipping, there's wholesaling, there's, I can't remember what it's called. It's a way in which you rent multiple rooms out to a company. And there's actually a couple there's a way that you can actually help ex-substance abusers come in, and they're like their first step into becoming independent again. Right. Well, these leases are backed by these companies that are granted by the government. And so it's a really secure way, and they'll pay a little bit more too. The people that are in the home, they're taken care of, they get a room. It's like their first time, they're paying a share of the utilities. And so it's an incredible way. So there's, tons of different ways for our investors to get involved. And so we've really directed our attention towards, who's got the money to invest. Let's see if we can get them a really good deal on something that they're going to be happy with, 4 or 5 years down the road. And so we've gone that direction. We've really focused on, our sphere. We've really gone back into, our past clients, following up with them, making sure that we stay in front of them, because there's so many agents and there's so many loan officers, and everybody's told shop around. So how are you going to be the person that they choose? And so that's one we've really, we've recently put into place a new CRM that's really helping us kind of remind us, hey, check in with this person, send this out. We've hired a new social media marketer. She's been doing great. And so, we've done all of those different things to try to stay in front of people. But then also, it has been a lot of work, and going toward, it's wild because when you're busy, when business is coming in, you're busy. Yeah. When it's not coming in, you're even busier because you're trying to get busy.
It's funny how that works.
Yeah, it's like, oh man, during COVID and everything, I was like, God, I just wish I would make less money if this would just slow down. It slowed down just a little bit, and I was like, holy cow, what's happening? I was like, we gotta get
right.
And then you're busier again. And so the work-life balance is definitely something that I could get better at. But I feel like I've made pretty good strides with that. Going back towards, when Brandon had passed, it was I obviously had my book of business, and then all of his book of business basically was just right on top of the shoulder. Yeah, rolled right on top. And so making every single phone call, I remember the day after he had passed, making all the all the phone calls to everybody under contract that was like, hey, listen, just so you know, I'm here. We're going to take care of you. I know we're at this stage, you know, and I've already reviewed your inspection, or, hey, the appraisal's ordered, and basically gave them that comfort of like, holy cow, how am I going to go through with this process without him? I said, hey, listen, we're here. We're going to keep doing that. And that was led by his wife was, Elizabeth was like, hey, call everybody. And I was like, how in the world are you focusing on this right now? And, but that's the type of care she has. She is like, you get in there and you make sure that these people are taken care of, like Brandon was. And it was a very short conversation, but, you know, and you cried a little bit, and we, you know, just kind of went back and forth, but it was just like, make sure that these people are taken care of like Brandon would have taken care of them. And I was like, okay, here we go. So, you know, on the phone, you know, hey, we're going to take care of you. We're going to take care of you. Hey, are you still looking for this house? We're going to take care of you. Hey, are you still thinking about listing your house next week? Okay. I know pictures are scheduled. I know you're doing this, blah, 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 you know, and it was a hectic transition, but we made it work, and it's been blessed ever since. And so, you know, since taking that on, I've been a lot busier than I probably could have ever imagined being. And so making time for my wife, my kids, making sure I'm there for, you know, soccer games and for extracurricular activities. Is that how you said it? Extraterrestrial. I think close enough. So, you know, making time. And it's funny because everybody that I talk to, we get to represent, you know, CEOs and CFOs and executives. And, you know, so I always ask them, you know, typically after we close, you know, because they got enough going on in the process, but, you know, kind of a follow-up meeting, or just kind of talk through the process. Hey, what could we have done better? What did you like? What did you didn't like? I always kind of pick their brains. And at that point, I feel like they're friends. So I can talk to them more about personal. What do you do? You know, how do you balance your what? And a lot of them say 1 day a week is date night. Right. And so I'm not quite there, but I'm close. and so, you know, just making sure. And one thing I have been working on this year has been like, dinner time, phones over here. At dinner, phones over here. You know, just because that time is so limited, you don't want it to be interrupted with anybody else with your family. And so, and I'm a huge believer in, you know, our marriage has to be perfect to make sure that the family household is perfect. It's like, my wife and I relationship has got to be first. And then through that, your children. And this is all stuff that I've learned at church from my parents, this isn't me coming up with all this wisdom. This is things that we have learned. And so, you know, our marriage has got to be the unit that is the strongest in the household. And through that, your children will see that, and they'll see how much they love each other, and they'll want to be a part of that. And they become, you don't neglect, that's not what I'm saying. You know what I'm saying here, but you know, like we focus a lot on our marriage and making sure that we're on the same page. And we have those, you know, date nights every once in a while where we sit down, like, you know, what's going on? What, you know, how do you feel? How do I feel? You know, I'm feeling like this. Okay, I'll work on that. You know, I'm feeling a little bit like this. Okay, I'll work on that. You know, and so it's this back and forth and this give and take of, you know, how can I be a better husband, and through that be a better father. And so it's been super blessed to see when you learn something and you put it in, you know, you put it into practice and you implement it in your life and you see the fruit that comes from it. And you're like, holy cow, this works. And so, you know, it makes me think, okay, you know, our marriage has to get even better and even better and even better. And through that, you know, the kids fall right in line. And I think too, your wife's going to be the one that you're spending the rest of your life with. That's the foundation. You know, your kids, they'll be off at college, they'll be gone.
Sadly,
and so, so it's like, you know, we're really close with my siblings. They all live within, it's actually weird, they all live within a mile of me. And so all 4 kids have our own individual houses within a mile of each other. And our parents live about 3 miles down the road. And I'm like, I look to their 40, you know, they're in their 50s. And I'm just like, that's what I want. I was like, that's what I want. So I'll go, how'd you do this? What'd you do? And, you know, I can think of things that they did in my childhood and how they raised us and all of that. But I still check in with them all the time. It's like, not prideful enough to reach out for help when I need help. And so that's what we've really focused on is our marriage, and then our relationship with our children. And through that, and a lot of people, I know you do a lot for mental health and for agents and loan officers that are struggling with that. And so that's huge, because it's extremely important to make sure that you're good here and here.
What do you do to make, maintain, your mental health and taking care of yourself?
My family is honestly, I'm a man of faith. And so that's a huge thing for us and me and my family. And so, getting in there together, we're praying together, we're, and letting what he's, for us, what God has done in our life, we feel like he deserves so much more than I could ever give him. And so that is, and again, all this we've learned from church and from family and everything. So I'm not like this profound leader of any sort, but being able to, pray together with the family, and, any worry that we have, we are able to, I feel like we've built this relationship with God that is so personal that we really do just get down to okay, this is an issue. Let's pray about this, and let's that's exactly right. And really get in there and focus on that. And through that, there's this overwhelming peace that comes through. And now it is hard. There are times that are stressful. There are times that are, but you always have this, something to lean on, and these days I feel like people don't have something to lean on. If I were single without something like that for me to lean on, and I had this family, maybe not single, but I have had this family, and I've got these kids, and I've got to run this business, and I've got to do all of these things, I'd go crazy. I would absolutely go crazy. And so, just getting in there. And one thing too is, that we do is we try to serve, we try to get out of ourselves. And through that, you get that, you get that fulfillment of accomplishing something. And you get that fruit, I guess you could say, of getting out of yourself and going to help somebody, or going to help somebody move a bed, or going to church and volunteering for a little bit, or going, doing something pro bono, or, hey, you know what? I'm going to give you this much money of the commission. That's no problem. It's not about the money. Like I said, it's about the relationships. And so that's how I've been able to do it. A lot of people do it a lot of different ways, but that's just how we've been able to do that. And through marriage, and through our faith, and through the strong family unit, I feel like we've, again, it gets hard. This, even if you're very healthy mentally, there are days and there are times where you struggle, where you fall down, where your mentals aren't in the right spot. But if you've got the directions to dig yourself out of it, then you can do that. And so that's what I feel like we've got. And so that I feel like has been why we've been able to continue this on. I feel like it's a positive energy that I think people, they meet Ivy, my sister, who is our marketer. They meet Joya, my assistant. We're actually bringing on some agents here soon, and I think they see that, and I really try to stay positive throughout the entire transaction. I try, like I said, keep the emotion out of it, stay positive, stay happy, and that feeds people. I really do. I think that feeds people, and if they see that you're strong and you're positive, they'll be strong and they'll be positive, no matter how emotional they are. So, I don't know if that answered your question.
Yeah, man, that's great. It's good stuff.
That's how we did.
It's amazing. I mean, I think it is very. You've got to maintain some sort of semblance of faith and sanity, belief in something outside of yourself, and doing something outside of yourself, or else it's just so hard, or it's so easy to just go internal, and just spiral downward. But tell people how. I mean, I know you also serve the East Tennessee market. How do people, if they want to reach out, they want to buy a home here in Middle Tennessee, or perhaps it's like a rental over in Gatlinburg, a second home. How do they reach out to you, Alec?
I mean, there's a lot of different ways. Our social media is probably the best way to do it, and we're growing that. We need to pick your brain even more about all of that, but we're really working on our social media right now. Obviously, text and email is super easy, but and our website's getting worked on as well. We're really going through this transition of maintaining all the business that we have, but also really updating a lot of that stuff. And so it's actually really exciting what we've got going on. I mentioned, we're growing. We've got 7 new agents coming on here very shortly. We're going from a team from 3 or 4 to 10. And so we're growing like crazy right now. And so it's been a really busy time, but that's how you can reach me. The Gatlinburg market has probably been 15 to 20% of our business over the last 7 years. The Smoky Mountains has been an incredible place to invest. 7 years ago, specifically, Brandon actually went there. He used to travel there all the time, and he'd see all these cabins around, and he always used to rent one. And I remember him saying, like, I wonder what these people are making on these things. And so he started looking into it, and the rental numbers were just unbelievable given the price.
Mm-hmm.
You could buy a 5 or 6 bedroom cabin for $400,000 or $500,000, and it was making 70 to 80 grand a year. And so he was like, we've got to snatch up as many of these as possible. And so again, went to our little pool of investors and say, here are the numbers. What do you think? And it was a no-brainer for a lot of different people that could afford it, obviously. And so, we've been there for the last 7 years, buying, selling, swapping, and all of that. And so that's been super blessed. Short term, the rental market's kind of the Airbnb market, short-term rental market's kind of come down a little bit. Prices are still pretty high there. They've inflated like crazy over the last 7 years. And so we've really had to find deals, and we've really had to be good at making sure that each one of the rentals are diversified. There's so many neighborhoods there that they just threw up a bunch of cabins that look the same.
Right.
And so what we've focused on with our clients is, hey, listen, if you're going to come here, if you want to invest here, here's what you've got to do. And it's a formula. Right. You've got to have amenities. You've got to be, the view, all the things that you would want if you were to vacation in the Smoky Mountains. It's got to have them all. And so we've really had to get nitpicky these days. But it's been great. We just closed on 2 big old cabins last week. And they're booked out like crazy for the winter. And so it's been blessed. It's been awesome for our investors.
How do they reach you one more time? What's the website? Or is it best to go through the website?
It's best to go through the website, or our Instagram is Brandon Hanna Properties. You can go to Brandon Hanna Properties. You can reach us there. BrandonHanna.com is our website. You can reach me at 615-507-8258. That's the easiest way to get a hold of me. And other than that, it's just basic avenues of getting through. So
awesome. Yeah. Awesome. Thanks for coming, brother.
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate you.
All right, guys. We'll see you next time right here on the Mark Neely Show.